How are you guys?
We're good.
Good,
We're good.
good.
I was really excited when you guys reached out to me. I'm really excited to talk with you both today. I feel
Oh,
like the podcast and I have a lot of similar values. I feel that we don't really have that many opportunities anymore to engage in civil discourse. I believe it's like such an essential part of getting anything done. And I feel like right now, especially, there's such intense political polarization. So I'm really grateful that you both are creating such a healthy space for people to connect human to human. So thank you so much.
oh,
Yeah, yeah. It's our pleasure.
yes, it is.
Um, but it's something that everybody can do in their own way,
Mhm.
shape, or form.
Yeah,
I guess we just, I mean, not to sound, what's the phrase? Self
like tapping yourself on the back.
important. Yeah, no, it's just we're just doing what we can to
Yeah,
try to
yeah,
help people connect and like Dydine said, remind us all of our shared humanity.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, Melody, would you tell us because I really was inspired a few years ago. I think it was like 2019 that I received an email from you. We did, and you were still in high school. I don't know if you're still in high school now, but it was wonderful to see
Oh,
like a
I'm in
young
my first year. Yeah.
you in the first year of college.
Yes, first year of college. But yeah, it was 2019, so it's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
Yeah. And see that you were, involved in genocide awareness and prevention at such a young age. Usually at that age, kids are, focused on other things, like, because these are not a topic that will be among like a lot of, I don't know, a lot of,
Younger people.
yes, yeah.
I mean, we have met our share of young people who are involved, but it's always kind of a breath of fresh air to know that younger people are starting to have these conversations and they feel confident enough to voice their own opinions, about very complex topics,
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, no, it's always very exciting to have that conversation because we
Yeah.
usually only have it with like older people and they have their own views on the world and what they need or view needs to be changed. But again, like us young people, we need to, carry it forward and
Yeah.
pay whatever we can forward.
Absolutely. So how did you get involved?
So as an Armenian, I'm sure you guys are aware of the genocide that happened 100 something years ago. So that's kind of written um, in all of our like Armenians. It's kind of our duty, I guess, to really be involved in genocide awareness and prevention. But back in high school, I was in an organization called the Junior State of America, which is like a nonpartisan debate organization. So we decided my school was an Armenian school. So we decided to host like a convention about genocide awareness and prevention. And we invited other schools as well. But the problem with that was we didn't want to make it only about Armenian genocide prevention. And I was a junior and I wasn't really educated on other genocides. So I was doing research and I came across your website and your story was so inspiring to me. And we thought it would be a really great opportunity. I feel like the student body, they were all telling me afterwards it was such an inspiring, like hearing your story and being educated on the Rwandan genocide. I feel like we're kind of really wrapped up in our own genocide prevention that we kind of like, and in our own cultures that we kind of don't step out of that. And yeah, so I feel like the exposure of the atrocities happening in Rwanda, that happened in Rwanda, was really important, I feel, for younger people to be educated on. So yeah, I feel
Yeah.
it was
Oh.
really important.
Yeah, I think it was an honor for me to speak to the students, and we
Yeah.
had so much fun afterwards. We took a lot of pictures.
Yeah.
Yes, and I think every time I think when I was 18 or 16 years old, that's when I learned about Armenian genocide, Bosnian genocide, all these genocides around the world, and it actually really helped me realized that was not, Rwanda genocide was not unique, and it's something that has happened before. Other people have went through what I went through, and it really helped, expand my expand my understanding of humanity in the way,
and your empathy, right?
Your empathy,
more of a I mean, I
and not
keep
even
on
feel
saying
like
connection, but you do feel like there, because of the shared experience, you feel like you have maybe a deeper connection, maybe
it can a deeper connection, but also at the same time realizing that humans all over the world are experiencing these things, that we experience pain, they're going through struggles that kind of you can know that you're not alone, and not feel like you're less, or you're not supposed to be here because this thing happened. But it kind of, I don't know, it's learning about. So when did you find out about I know you're Armenian, but you're like a third generation, right?
I'm a first generation American, but all my family members are Armenian. My parents are both from Lebanon, so they moved here. I guess they would be the first generation
They'll be
Americans,
the
I guess.
first.
I would be the first one born here.
Oh no, I meant from the when it happened, because it happened in 1915.
Oh yeah, it's been
so you're like a third generation from when Armenian genocide happened. So I'm wondering, how did you learn about it? How did you feel? And how, because I know there is a lot of generational trauma that comes with these experiences that our ancestors go through. Do you remember when you learned about it first time?
Ever since I could remember, I've been going to protests. Like even when I was like in a stroller, my mom would take me, but I never really educated. I mean, I knew something wrong happened, obviously, but as I grew older, I began to educate myself more on what happened, like more like the details, like the war crimes, the responses from the international community. And I really started to hone my knowledge regarding that recently. Recently, I picked up a position as a weekly columnist at a newspaper called the Armenian Weekly. It's a really historic newspaper. It's been in print since the 1930s, I believe, the early 1930s. And the newspaper itself does have a lot of cultural value. And even though I've been a reader of it for a long time, like my grandparents were readers of it, I've only been writing there for about 6 months. So besides writing at the newspaper, I feel like the role of the press, including newspapers like the one I write for, is very, including your book, Dydine, I feel like they're so cardinal in genocide prevention and like shedding light on human rights breaches. So whenever I was doing research in my junior year, I found out that there were only 2 international journalists placed in Rwanda when the genocide was happening, and I couldn't believe that. Because for the Armenian genocide, back in 1915, the press, most notably the American press, like the New York Times, they were very devoted. Like they were publishing article after article about the atrocities happening in Armenia. So even as an Armenian, I can recognize that most genocides don't get covered in the press, or at the very least don't get covered enough. Like it's so bad to the point where I had to do my own research, which is really sad. Like going through newspaper archives, like I couldn't believe it. Especially the Rwandan genocide, like I couldn't believe that it's not being taught in schools in full. Like it's wild. I don't know.
Well, I'm curious to get further into that. When you were in high school, did you notice that these things weren't being spoken about nearly enough? And like, what was that conversation? What was the conversation around that? Did you try to talk to faculty about it, or like was there further conversations after the initial fact, like, oh, this is not nearly, talked nearly enough about?
Because I've been attending Armenian school my entire life, private Armenian school, joining a club like Junior State of America in high school was kind of like a culture shock because I was so surrounded by people who were very, passionate about the genocide and genocide prevention, and then going into a space where no one knew about it, and some of them didn't even know Armenia was a country, and that's really what inspired me to begin to not only educate myself and educate others, because it was kind of like a echo chamber. Like everyone was like, yes, the Armenian genocide is bad, but then going to a space where people were asking, oh, what happened, and I couldn't really explain, because I would just be like, it's just bad, like how is it not being understood? So that's definitely what inspired me to do more thorough research. I think that moment of culture shock was really important in changing like the course of my life and how I work as an Armenian towards genocide prevention for other cultures as well.
It's so interesting when you mention that some people didn't even know that Armenia is a country. It's the same thing that happens with me all the time when I'm doing my talks. I had to learn to include almost like a historic geography of the African continent and where Rwanda is. So I kind of learned that to embrace that people don't even know that we exist.
Yeah, which is it's so like crazy, like going from a space where everyone knows the ins and outs of a specific issue, and then going somewhere where people don't even know like the rudimentary aspects of an issue. That's really what like inspired me to learn what happened from A to Z, so I can do the best job I can possibly do with explaining my ancestors' story. And even to this day, there was just a war in Armenia in 2020, and not a lot of people were talking about it,
No.
which is still, yeah, it's mind blowing.
Do you know the conflict? Do you know what caused the war, the conflict? Is it like a
Yes.
political?
It was over the territories. So in Armenia, there is Republic of Artsakh. It's a independent nation. So the Armenian people were facing a existential threat at the hands of Azerbaijan. So the Azeri government claims that the war was warranted because this occupied territory is theirs. However, what I don't understand, what others aren't recognizing, is the population is actually 98% Armenian. And there was a self-determination movement in the 90s. And most of the government, all the government is Armenian. The area itself is part of historic Armenia, and it's been inhabited by Armenians since the 7th century, actually. And
Wow.
yeah, and over the years, it's experienced so many invasions and barbaric massacres. But there's so much historical evidence that you can't deny. There've
The
been
existence of people.
Right.
over 3,000 Armenian monuments in the area, including 500 Christian churches, and the oldest of them date back to the 5th century. I mean, the 18th century, I believe. So with that much evidence, I don't understand how the international community was turning their back on us, because there were so many. There was the 1994 UN ceasefire agreement that was violated, and that's an international law. So it's crazy to me that it wasn't being spoken about nearly enough.
Right.
I feel like in the West we tend to focus on the issues here, and anything that's outside of what's in reach to us is we seem so it's so disconnected that we don't even recognize that it's real and it's happening and lives are being harmed.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, we have that conversation all the time. Is we are as a society, we've become a lot more individualized, and we try to fix the problems, like you said, that are right in front of us. And through that, and ignore the larger community issues that a lot of the time are long standing. And we've been searching for solutions to these issues, these conflicts, for some hundreds of years, but we, for whatever reason, I think we're all trying to figure out exactly why we can't spread our compassion to people who need it, who are our family, who are a part of our community, even if they're not right next to us necessarily. Yeah, so go ahead.
I was going to say, it also makes it so difficult for countries, for people who are going through genocide, when the oppressor still is in power. It's almost like, even now with Armenian genocide too, it was mind-blowing for me to hear that it was internationally recognized as a genocide recently. Like Biden, like literally, because Turkey is, still a powerful country, or whatever, has powerful friends. Yeah, it wasn't recognized for over almost 100 years.
Yeah.
And it's always like, it's kind of sad to feel, I don't know, to not honor those lives, because there was one friend of mine who, her name is Rita Khan. She's a Holocaust survivor, and when I met her for the first time, she mentioned something that was, for me, it felt like everyone in the world should feel that way. I mean, it's a wishful thinking, but she said that when you save one life, you've saved the whole world, and when you kill one life, you've killed the whole world. And it was almost, for me, like thinking about it, if people thought about it in that way, not tolerating or allowing violence and conflicts to go on, it just for lands or political, especially lands, when it's, we're all here for a short period of time, and if we keep fighting for the things that we don't even have control over,
right.
We just keep killing each other.
It's
like we're 93% of population. If you kick them out of that, where are you sending them?
Right.
And why do you need that land? So it's very, it's sad. I'm sorry that it's going on right now.
Yeah, it's been very difficult. I feel like it's very, each country's end goals are very different, because Armenians were, and I'm not even talking about the people living in Azerbaijan and Turkey. I'm more so talking about their government, because Armenians are fighting for survival, and the Republic of Artsakh is very historic, and it's very important to us. It's our homeland, and the goal of the Azeri government is to, of course, eliminate the Armenian people. That's been the goal from the very beginning, because they've been, Turkey has been providing Azerbaijan with both political and military support, as well as recruiting mercenaries from other countries, neighboring countries. And the whole point is to create a pan-Turkic state in that area to get rid of the Christian nation, Armenia, which is really scary, because it feels like the fear of a second Armenian genocide is like creeping up right behind our shoulders. And obviously, even if you don't even identify as Christian, I feel like in the name of religious freedom, it's really important, like in the name of culture, in the name of human rights, of course. I feel like it's just, I can't, in the modern world, I can't believe, like right on the other side of the world, things like this are happening.
Right.
It's
It's so sad, because now as you saying that, it's like our friend Guy from Israel. We have a friend of ours from Israel, and he was telling us how back home it's the same thing. It's almost like Israel is in the middle of Islamic countries, and it's almost like people take a religion. It's okay to have your to have your beliefs and everything, but it's also okay to allow other people believe in whatever they want, because it doesn't hurt you. It doesn't really. It's almost like it's an offensive to not believe in the same thing that another person believes in, even if it doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt anyone. So it's really sad to forget about human rights and to forget about, I don't know. It's very complicated that we can't. Oh God, humans are very complex.
I know. I'm thinking about all the the complexities of humanity, because there's so many different aspects of ourselves that we should be able to express. I mean, freedom of religion being like a baseline, or it should be anyway.
Yeah. But
this stuff has been going on for almost like the history of humanity.
It's almost like forgetting that it's a religion, it's a faith. Don't use it for personal gain. When you it's almost like, did really God tell you that you should end a whole group of people in His name? No. So it's I think
obviously not. Yeah.
What you were gonna say something?
Obviously not.
Yeah, I feel like religion, we've completely twisted the meaning of it, and I feel like there's something good in every religion, and no religion at its core is asking its believers to spread hate, to kill, to exterminate other faiths, which it's so tragic how we've twisted everything.
Yeah. It is. It is. It is, and it's already sad. I'm thinking on a brighter note, because we can go into this things that the sad stuff.
Unjust.
They're just. Sometimes we don't even have power to
Well, that's the thing. Like it's hard to wrap your mind around. Like when you individually, as one person, you try to think of all these solutions. In my experience anyway, I'm sure you guys can relate, is just how is one person supposed to change almost history? How are you supposed to correct this, course correct these atrocities that happen? And I think it starts with these sort of conversations.
True.
And these efforts and all these events that people put on to spread awareness and to spread compassion. And we've read so many books and talked to so many people about just the compassion they have for people. In that, if people would just think for a moment, the oppressors, the perpetrators would just think for a moment and consider who they are really hurting when they commit genocide or they commit other war crimes or whatever. They hurt themselves.
As
and
well,
Dydine,
along the way,
you say this beautifully in that. Well, I don't want to say it. I would love you to.
I think if you look at it, the people who commit these crimes, they're also unhappy, and they're going through. They just, there's nowhere you will go and kill hundreds and thousands and millions of people and expect to be happy afterwards, even though that's what you thought. If you eliminate this whole race of people, you're going to find the happiness. But from what I've seen from past genocides and stuff, usually people who commit it, they don't really find the peace that they were looking for. And it's almost like a false promise they go on because of the propagandas and all the atmospheres are going on from political views and whatever, usually they all really don't find that happiness,
Peace or
that peace, the happiness.
It doesn't fix what they felt was broken in the first place.
Because yes, it does not, because they humanize you, but at the same time they're dehumanizing themselves. Mentally, they feel they're dehumanizing you. You're not human enough to be alive, but their action is not human. Like, being human is being kind and have empathy. So it's almost like they're taking something from themselves at the same time. I don't know if you agree. What do you think about that?
I definitely agree. I feel like a lot of these actions are so rooted in pain. And there's a saying, hurt people hurt people. I think we can apply this even to something as grand scale as a genocide. I feel like there's nothing to gain from killing other people. I feel like in a utopian world we can all coexist, but unfortunately I feel like there's such, like, even the disputes are over such, like, things that shouldn't even matter in the grand scheme of things. Like, I could never understand why we can't just coexist, for sure. I definitely agree. And the saddest part, I feel, is for me personally, and I'm sure you both can relate, whenever a genocide, even if you're not, I mean, I know you were there, but for me, the Armenian Genocide happened over 100 years ago. And even though I was both generationally detached and I wasn't physically there, you can kind of still feel their pain, like intergenerational genocide trauma. You can still feel like the pain your ancestors went through, and you can't even, it's hard to process, I feel, because and I feel something else called survivor's guilt. Like, I people my age in 2020 were on the front lines. They were fighting. People my age, some even younger than me, were dying, and I feel like sitting at home in California, I don't know, I get like, I feel so guilty that I can't do more, and I have the luxury of just just sitting here and talking about it when they're actually there in person. I don't know. What do you think?
Oh, what do we think? I think we all here, all of us here, we can have, we have those feelings. Like, you can start from what your grandparents went through, your parents went through, and how you feel now, the life you have right now.
I mean, it's more of like, for me, like, the worst thing that I've ever experienced or have sort of generational trauma from is like racism in the South. I'm from Dallas, and my family's from Tennessee, Mississippi, like all the deep South states where they experienced horrible segregation. My family, my parents, my grandparents, they experienced all sorts of stuff that you generally only see and hear about in history books. I think the closest thing that I've kind of experienced to that is like last year with the George Floyd stuff and the Black Lives Matter marches and all of the activity that was going on. Not being there was almost a guilt. I wouldn't even go as far as to call it guilt, but seeing my family or friends being more involved in these things. It's not like we aren't all affected, because even if I wasn't, being harassed by a police officer or in some horribly uncomfortable racist situation, which I've been in before, but in those situations back in 2020, I don't know, you feel a connection, but you do also sort of feel like I should be there, or I'm not doing enough, or something along those lines. But to get over that, you remember that we're all sort of in this together, and one person, whether you're on the front lines, you're physically fighting or whatever you're doing there, versus someone who's making a podcast about it and trying to spread awareness and talk more openly about it and try to help other people understand what we're going through. It's all sort of the same. But I don't know. I don't want to misspeak and speak out of turn. But I don't know. That was just my experience with that sort of thing.
Same. I feel like we always feel like we can do more. You know, especially when you see for me, I was a child when we had genocide, and I always felt almost like, you know, knowing other people's stories that was horrific more than mine. Almost I feel guilty of even opening up about my experience, because it felt like I'm doing way better. They suffered way more, and I just have to do as much as I can to ease their pain. Or somebody who was taken away, it's almost like I'm here and they're not here, and it's like, am I doing enough to just even why I'm having this beautiful life and somebody didn't have it. It's almost like that guilt. Or if I see like some survivors not able to recover from what happened, it makes me, it's almost like I want to fix it, but I can't, and it kind of becomes almost like,
where that trauma sort of keeps them where they were.
Yes, when it stays there, but then you can't do anything about it. But then you're in the same boat at the same time. So there's a lot of complex emotions that happens, and I feel like even that's something that can that happens to generations afterwards. Like my younger siblings or kids who were born after genocide. It's almost like sometimes, because of that survivor guilt you're talking about, sometimes they are afraid of expressing their pain because they know their families have gone through an unspeakable pain. It's almost like they don't feel like their pain is valid, or but so that's when the survival
survival tactics.
That's where the trauma, I think, comes from, is coming from those histories. It really affects generations. Yeah, it does. And even how your families operate in the world. It's different from someone who did not experience it, and it's kind of hard to know how to navigate life around those who will not understand.
That I actually had that question for you, Melody.
Like
someone who is your whole life pretty much has been deeply ingrained in genocide awareness, and just you have on the forefront of your mind more so than most Westerners, I'll say, not just Americans, but do you find that, like, the way you interact with people, with students, with friends, whoever, do you feel like you move differently in the world versus how a lot of other people just kind of go about their lives, maybe just lackadaisically? Or what's that experience like for you?
I feel like growing up, it was rather difficult. I feel whenever I hear other people's like non-Armenians family stories, it kind of felt, it didn't feel fair when I was younger. But now I feel like each and every culture and group of people have undergone something life-changing, and I feel like it wouldn't be fair to invalidate their experiences. Even if I'm sure there are people who have had worse experiences than me or easier experiences than me, but either way, I feel like it wouldn't be fair to invalidate their experiences at all. And to look at the positive of this, I feel as survivors of any kind of trauma, whether it be genocide, whether it be racism, whether it be any kind of microaggression or anything like that, I feel like each and every one of us have like a responsibility to honor our family, to honor what they've gone through, because without them we wouldn't be here. And you know, whether it be through an avenue how you guys do it, through a podcast, having these important conversations, or you know, working at a newspaper, working here, whatever plays to your strengths, I feel like no matter what you do, as long as you're passionate about it, you're honoring your family's legacy and their stories, because you can't rewrite history.
No.
What happened happened, and it definitely shaped me. It shaped you. It shaped everybody.
Yeah.
But we can take what happened and spin it into something good, and we can also forgiving. We can forgive, but I don't think we should forget what happened. We should definitely hold governments accountable. We should hold these perpetrators accountable. It's necessary, but I think it's also important to not be stuck in a negative place, because you know, we can talk about how tragic the Armenian Genocide is, we can talk about how tragic the Rwandan Genocide is, or any other horrific atrocity, but really, what can we do to rewrite it? We can forge a new a better a life for us and our people. And I think that's what should be the most important thing. Forgiving, but not forgetting, I feel.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
That was beautifully said.
Beautifully, yes.
I like that.
Yes,
Thank
I
you.
agree 100% with everything you just said. We cannot change, we cannot rewrite the history. We can't, but we cannot also forget it, because if we do, we'll repeat it.
Yes.
In like instant.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
So with the work that you had done in high school and before, and the work that you do now with writing and working with the newspaper, do you see like tangible growth? I mean, I know it's not been a terribly long time, but being able to interact with people and have these conversations and write about it and to express what you need to express, and I'm sure you know you hear other people's feelings and thoughts of the matter. Do you see a trend? Do you see more hopefulness and positivity coming from these conversations and expressions?
When for sure, because when I first started working at the newspaper, I was going in with the intention of writing about like the political happenings of what happened and what's happening. But as I kept going, the newspaper gives me a lot of creative freedom, and it kind of naturally progressed to, instead of just being the same repetitive things, it kind of changed to me speaking with other Armenians in various fields, like from film directors to, you know, musicians, to other artists, and, you know, other figures in the community. Talking to them and seeing, you know, the legacy they're leaving behind in honor of their ancestors has been really inspiring to me. And like being able to tell those stories has been really inspiring. I feel like in the last year or so after the war happened in 2020, I feel like a lot has changed. It's made my community be more aware, for sure, but be more intentional with what they do for them and their community. And I feel like it's just so important to have conversations with people in and out of your respective community, because just telling these stories, I feel, is just the best way of honoring our ancestors and the people that have come before us.
Right.
For sure.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I'm wondering, it's a beautiful work that you're doing, and because you're now in the first year of college.
You guys too.
No, it's Thank you.
No, yeah.
We're all doing our best.
We're trying. Yeah.
Yes,
I mean, that's the most you can really ask from anybody is to try. You know, I like the way you said that, like to play to your strengths.
To play to your strengths, yes.
To you know, try to create the change that you want to see in the world.
Absolutely.
So yeah, no, I was just that's what we're trying to do.
Yes, yeah.
Is what I'm saying.
They actually really lucky to have you write for them because God, you've been so involved since was your mom, so you mentioned that your mom used to take you to marches and everything. Was your mom someone, I'm like curious because not every Armenian young woman does the same thing you do. Same as me. Not every survivor does what I do. Was this something from somebody in your family that inspired you to become the person you are today?
I feel like definitely my parents, my grandparents, and I feel like, I don't know, just their stories have really inspired me, moving from a Middle Eastern country to America and, creating a successful life for them and as a result for me. And I don't know, it's just, I feel like this is so ingrained in not just my family, but in a lot of our families. Like, even if you're not doing the same work as me, even if you're not working towards genocide awareness, I feel like anything you do is just still honoring your people because like we talked about, like not everyone can be a politician, not everyone can be a writer, but we need everyone to do. Not if everyone's a politician, who's gonna do the other jobs? If that makes sense. Like,
yes.
I think as a collective, it's like really important to do important work, but don't forget where you come from. I feel no matter how big you get or in your field, it's still important to remember the stories that formed us, remember the people that formed us, and just the communities. I'm sure it's the same for you. You guys, whenever you meet someone who shares the same stories as you, for me, whenever I meet another Armenian, it's like an instant connection because I feel like we already have so much in common, even if it's not things in common that are face value, like our interests or hobby, career, or whatever it may be. We still have similar but dissimilar stories, and I feel like it's the same for everybody, which is super cool, honestly.
It is. Yeah, that's something like you can carry that with you. Once you have that sort of ingrained in your mind, because you can be told that, and it doesn't really click until sometime later. But once you have that in your head, it's a lot easier to move through life, knowing that you're, first of all, not alone in this whole thing. But secondly, you have, you have real connections and real ties to
grounding.
people, and it's grounding. And then like you said, I like to think about honoring my ancestors a lot. That's kind of been something that's big for me, especially like over the last year through the pandemic, is just it kind of influences our work a little bit more, and it gives us more purpose as we move through life. So you just become a more maybe well-rounded individual as you continue to create and spread positivity. But it's just a beautiful thing to sort of keep in mind.
Absolutely. Same here. I'm definitely in the same boat.
And I feel like even if you're not living in the same in your ancestral homelands, or even if whatever happened, the atrocity happened generations ago, you feel like such a strange mixture of like sadness but also happiness, because I don't know, despite it all, you've pushed forward. There's just so many emotions that are just like blended in. You don't even know how to describe what happens to you after. But I feel like even if there is pain that passes down from generation to generation, I think it's also important to think positively and remember that strength also passed down from generation to generation.
Yes.
Because if there was no strength, I mean, we wouldn't be here. And it's important to, I feel, think positively sometimes whenever things like this have happened in our respective histories.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna let you know right
More.
now that quote you just said
Yeah.
about not only pain but strength passing through. That's
Yeah.
gonna be one of our
Our-
Instagram promotional quotes. That was good.
I think every young person should know that they come from that.
Yeah.
Especially when you know that your family went through so much and you're here. Just being here itself is strength that was passed through generations and generations. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's also very like encouraging and sharing that. It's a very encouraging and implementing positivity among our youth or around the world.
Yeah.
So, what are you hoping to work on in the future? What are your dreams?
Yeah. Like 10 years from now, what do you hope to?
Yes.
10 years from now, I'm hoping to, I'm really interested in law and journalism. So I feel like I would really want to work at the crossroads of both of those fields. Like, I love writing and I love law. I love politics. I want to find a way to blend it all together. I don't have anything set for sure, but I'm hoping to work in those fields one day for sure.
That's really beautiful. I can't wait for you to get there because you will.
Thank you.
Where they say where there is a will, there is.
Where there's a will, there's a way.
Yes.
That's the saying. Yeah.
Oh, you're gonna ask the last question?
Yeah. I will.
Yes.
So with your infinite knowledge that you supposedly have here, you've been educating us so much. What message do you have for young people or just people in general who hope to, find their niche, find their thing that helps them create the change in the world? What message do you have for people struggling to find that thing in themselves?
Oh God, this is heavy.
We know you can do it.
I feel like it's all about trial and error for me. I have tried a lot of things. Like I've tried a lot of different clubs. I've tried fostering a lot of different interests as well. And sometimes things click and sometimes they don't. But I think something important that I've kept in mind is, of course, playing to your strengths, but also like sometimes play to your weaknesses. I don't know if that makes any sense, but like if you're not the best artist, for example, and you really enjoy making art, there's no reason to stop doing something just because you can't capitalize on it. I feel like we live in such a world where it's all like so fast paced, and if you're not being productive, you're wasting your time. But I feel it's so important to sometimes step back and just do something you enjoy just because you enjoy it. There doesn't have to be any monetary gain or any gain at all. I mean, if you just want to do something, for sure do something. I feel like it's important to slow down in this modern world, to just slow down. It's so important.
Right.
It is.
Yeah.
Definitely.
We learned that this past year.
We did.
My goodness. Like when you're forced to stop doing stuff because the world won't let you, it's against the rules.
Yeah.
Then you're kind of forced to reevaluate why you do certain things, why you are in certain patterns, and then, try to determine what really fuels you and what gives you purpose.
Have you seen, sorry, this is like,
no, go ahead.
Have you seen a dog like running really fast and then stop?
Yeah.
Have you seen that stop, how that stop looks like?
No, I'm trying to picture it now.
I feel because the dogs really run fast, and then if there's a block of something, they just like they're it's like a rushed stop. If you're like driving and you kind of
you have to like hit the brakes very quickly.
Yes. Yeah. So the dogs do the same as well. If you haven't, we should. But I feel like that's how the world stopped in March 2020. It was like we were all, rushing through everything, and then it just happened so quickly, and you just had to sit and be like, okay, so what's next? What do I do? And you woke up in your pajamas that you didn't go to work. You everything had stopped.
Yeah.
And I feel like it was a forced one, but it was for some it was a much needed break. And of course there was a lot of horrible things that came along with that. But as you just mentioned, we shouldn't wait for that, the breaking point. We should think about how important it is for us to sit back and enjoy life. Not just, we always say here, we should cease to just exist, but live a life, be alive. Yeah, so you definitely tapped into that.
Yeah, I feel like it was really unexpected, and I feel like, although like you mentioned there was a lot of bad that came with it, I feel like for many it was such a period of like reevaluation. Like for me, like, am I really liking what I'm doing? Like it was so it was despite it all, it was important.
Yeah, it was, right. Despite it all. Yeah, I cut you through. Sorry.
No, I was just.
It's so good. I don't want us to finish before you finish your thought.
No, I finished my thought, I think.
You
I
did?
Can't remember now. I can't remember. But yeah, no, just a good reminder just to live your life.
Yeah.
Living is a verb. It's an activity. Instead of just being a potato just out in the distance, watching life go by.
Oh, go by. That's sad.
Yeah, no, I didn't mean it for it to be sad, but...
Oh, this was a very beautiful conversation. And I'm so happy we connected this way. We should stay in touch and, and be friends, because I think we met in the work. You were working and I was there just working. And the other day I was like, I should, this young person is doing amazing work. We should reach out to her and see if she is, if she's available. And you are, amazing. And I was so impressed before. I'm even more impressed now.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
We need more youth, more young people like you. Yeah. We do.
Thank you. I this was just such like, I'm like kind of in awe, but it was a really great opportunity. I feel like it's super important to slow down and just connect with other people. I feel like it should be really it should be more important to us than it is, for sure.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I'm so happy we connected. Alex is my husband.
Yeah.
I don't know if I mentioned.
When we spoke last time, I was just boyfriend. I was just boyfriend, but we got married.
Oh my God, I wanted to ask, but I didn't want it to be like you guys are friends and like make it super awkward, but congratulations.
Oh, you didn't even know that he was my boyfriend back then.
No, I just thought you guys were like, I don't know, I didn't want to say anything. I thought you guys were maybe just associates, and I was like thinking in my head like they would be really cute. But
well, I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you.
I'm so glad my gut feeling was right, because I was thinking I wanted to say something so bad, but I didn't.
Oh no, you should have. That would been
funny. They say your gut is always right. You should always listen to it. Yeah.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
You guys are a beautiful couple.
Thank you.
So we'll have your episode up soon, and we hope it inspires so many people, and it will.
I hope so. Yeah. I'm so grateful and for this opportunity, and super humbled as well.
We are
thank you
too.
so much.